The quiet whisper of doubt, the one that tells you to wait for inspiration, to put off the hard work, to settle for later. It's the very thing stealing your divine destiny. You feel it, don't you? That persistent nudge to do more, to be more, yet find yourself paralyzed by the gap between intention and action. You yearn for a life of purpose, a faith that moves mountains, but often feels stuck in the valley of what-ifs and someday I will. You pray, you hope, you believe, yet the tangible shifts you long for seem perpetually out of reach, often because you're waiting for a surge of feeling, a dramatic sign, or a bolt of motivation to strike before you truly begin. But what if the very key to unlocking God's abundant promises for your life, the one that transforms your deepest longings into tangible realities, isn't found in a sudden burst of inspiration, but in the quiet, consistent, and often uncelebrated commitment to discipline? This isn't about rigid rules or legalistic burdens. It's about cultivating an inner strength, a spiritual resilience that aligns your daily walk with your highest calling. It's about discovering that true freedom isn't the absence of structure, but the liberation that comes from choosing to act with purpose, even when no one is watching, even when the excitement fades, and especially when it's hard. Today we're going to uncover how embracing this profound truth can shatter the chains of procrastination and doubt, allowing you to build a life not just hoped for, but purposefully designed by divine grace, transforming your faith from a wish into an unwavering force. We live in a world that constantly sells us on instant gratification, on the idea that success should arrive quickly and effortlessly, often packaged in a viral moment or a sudden windfall. This mindset, subtly, seeps into our spiritual lives, creating a dangerous expectation that faith alone, without consistent, deliberate action, will manifest miracles. We find ourselves waiting for a divine push, a dramatic revelation, or a sudden surge of energy to propel us forward, mistaking comfort for contentment and inertia for divine timing. But this waiting, this passive posture, subtly erodes our self-trust and, more importantly, our trust in the very process God has laid out for growth. Every time we tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, or that we'll pray when we feel like it, or engage in that act of service when the perfect opportunity arises, we're not just delaying. We're chipping away at the foundation of our spiritual integrity. We're choosing the fleeting comfort of the familiar over the discomfort of growth, unknowingly building a life by chance rather than by the divine design intended for us. True, spiritual power, much like physical strength, isn't built in grand, sporadic bursts, but in the quiet, persistent, and often unglamorous repetitions that no one applauds. It's about showing up for yourself, for your calling, for God, not when you feel like it, but because you said you would. It's the conscious decision to act strong, not just to feel strong, to cultivate that internal compass that always points north, even when the storms rage. This is the difference between hoping for a profound life and actively becoming a person capable of living one. If this resonates with the quiet stirrings of your heart, if you're ready to stop waiting for inspiration and start building a life of undeniable spiritual strength, then consider this your invitation to join a community committed to this journey. Share your thoughts below. What's one area where you're ready to stop waiting and start acting? And let's build this conversation together, a conversation that truly transforms. One of the most insidious obstacles on this path is the seductive allure of comfort, that soft voice whispering, just one more day of rest, you've earned a break, or it's too hard right now. This isn't just about physical comfort, it's the comfort of the familiar, the comfort of not having to stretch, not having to face the unknown. We often believe that profound transformation requires a grand, heroic effort, a sudden, dramatic leap of faith. But the truth, a truth often overlooked in our hurried world, is that mastery and spiritual breakthrough are rarely about intensity and almost always about consistency. It's about the small, boring, unglamorous things done day after day, week after week. Consider Thomas, a young man with a dream of becoming a master woodworker. He had immense talent, a natural eye for detail. but he struggled with consistency. He'd pour himself into a project for a few days, fueled by passion, then get distracted, leaving unfinished pieces scattered around his workshop. He yearned for the recognition of a master, but his progress was stagnant. One day, an old wise craftsman observed him. He didn't critique Thomas's skill. Instead, he simply said, "Thomas, a beautiful piece isn't born from a single burst of genius, but from the relentless, quiet kiss of the sandpaper, day after day, in places no one will ever see." Thomas began to change his approach. He committed to just 1 hour of focused work every morning, regardless of how he felt. He started with the basics: sanding, cutting, joining, repeating the same motions until they became second nature. There were days he felt uninspired, days he wanted to quit. But he remembered the old man's words and the silent promise he made to himself. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, his skill deepened. His pieces gained a new level of precision and artistry. Not because he suddenly became more talented, but because he became more disciplined. The foundation of his mastery was laid in those unseen moments of consistent effort, proving that true growth is a repeated decision, not a single dramatic event. What seemingly small, consistent effort are you avoiding today, believing it won't make a difference? Another formidable obstacle we face is the human tendency to seek external validation, to perform for an audience, even in our spiritual walk. We often feel compelled to share our grand intentions, our lofty prayers, our ambitious spiritual goals, hoping that the very act of declaring them will somehow manifest them into being. And while accountability is vital, the silent, profound work of transformation often happens precisely when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no likes, no immediate recognition. This is a surprising revelation for many. The most significant shifts in your life, the most powerful breakthroughs, will likely occur in the quiet solitude of your own commitment, in the moments you choose integrity over ease, effort over comfort, not for show, but because of an inner conviction. Consider the roots of a majestic oak tree. They stretch deep into the earth, unseen, uncelebrated, yet it is their consistent, relentless search for water and nutrients, their silent battle against rocks and resistance, that allows the tree to stand firm against the fiercest storms, to grow tall and strong year after year. Nobody praises the roots for their daily grind, but without them, the tree would be nothing more than a sapling, easily toppled. Similarly, think of an athlete who consistently trains alone in the gym, long before the lights of the stadium, or the scholar who spends countless hours in quiet study, not for immediate recognition, but for the slow, steady accumulation of knowledge. This is the essence of true discipline. It's the unseen, unglamorous work of building your spiritual roots. It's the prayer whispered in the dark morning hours, the scripture studied when you'd rather scroll, the act of forgiveness extended when resentment feels easier. It's the consistent tending to your inner garden, pruning away the weeds of doubt and fear, watering the seeds of faith and purpose, even when the soil feels dry and barren. This silent work isn't just about accumulating good habits. It's about rewiring your brain, reshaping your identity, and cultivating a profound self-respect that comes from consistently honoring your commitments to yourself and to God. What if the very thing you're waiting to show the world needs to be cultivated in the quiet, unseen moments first? This understanding marks a crucial spiritual turning point. Discipline ceases to be a harsh, self-imposed burden and transforms into an act of profound spiritual devotion, a tangible expression of our faith. It becomes less about should and more about becoming. It's about recognizing that our consistent actions, even the smallest ones, are not just about building habits, but about building our very identity, aligning ourselves with the divine will for our lives. The Bible, far from advocating for sudden dramatic shifts alone, quietly champions consistency and faithfulness in the mundane. Think of the prophet Zechariah, who, in a vision, heard the Lord declare, Who despises the day of small things? Zechariah 4:10. This powerful question challenges our modern obsession with instant impact, reminding us that God often works through consistent, humble beginnings. It's in the faithful tending of those small things, the consistent prayer, the daily study, the regular act of kindness, that true spiritual giants are forged, not in a single, earth-shattering moment. This isn't about working for God's favor, but working with God's grace, allowing His power to flow through our consistent efforts. When we consistently choose effort over ease, when we honor our commitments to ourselves and to God, something profound shifts within us. We begin to rewire our brains, creating new neural pathways that reinforce courage and resilience. We gain a deep, unwavering self-respect, knowing that we are living in alignment with our highest selves, the self God intended us to be. This isn't just about doing more, it's about becoming more. It's the transformation from a person who merely hopes for change into a person who embodies change, a person who, through consistent faith and action, becomes a living testament to God's transformative power. Are you ready to stop despising the day of small things and embrace the power of consistent faithfulness? With this new perspective, discipline is no longer perceived as a cage, but as the very pathway to true freedom. It's the liberation from the tyranny of mood, from the endless cycle of procrastination, from the weight of unfulfilled potential. It's the freedom to choose your direction, to design your life, rather than being swept along by external forces or internal whims. This radical self-ownership calls us to be brutally honest about our slips, to take responsibility, and to ruthlessly cut the excuses that hold us captive. Consider Sarah, a single mother of 3, juggling 2 part-time jobs and trying to pursue a nursing degree online. She was perpetually exhausted, overwhelmed by the demands of her life, and felt like she was constantly drowning. She yearned for more time, more energy, more peace, but felt trapped by her circumstances. One day, at her lowest point, she realized her struggle wasn't just external, it was also internal. She was waiting for her life to magically become less chaotic before she could commit to anything. Inspired by a sermon on sowing and reaping, she decided to sow discipline. She started small, waking up 30 minutes earlier to pray and review her notes, even if she was still tired. She committed to preparing meals for the week on Sunday afternoons, simplifying her evenings. She set a strict bedtime for herself, even when she felt like staying up. There were days she failed, days she felt like giving up, but she recommitted each morning. Slowly, almost miraculously, her life began to transform. She found pockets of peace she never knew existed. Her grades improved, her children saw her calm resolve, and she started feeling a profound sense of control and accomplishment. Sarah didn't get more time. She disciplined the time she had. She didn't get more energy. She disciplined her habits to maximize the energy she possessed. Her story is a powerful testament that nothing changes until you take ownership of your time, your choices, and your standards. It's an invitation to stop making excuses and start making decisions that honor the future you're building, brick by consistent brick. So, where do you begin this journey of intentional discipline, this path of spiritual fortitude? It starts not with a grand overhaul, but with a single, deliberate choice. Begin by identifying just one small area in your life where you consistently feel stuck, where you know you're procrastinating, or where you're waiting for external motivation. Perhaps it's committing to 5 minutes of silent prayer each morning, or reading 1 chapter of scripture before engaging with social media, or making that difficult phone call you've been dreading. The key is to start today, not tomorrow, not next week. The moment you decide to act, even in the smallest way, you begin to rewrite your internal script. Embrace the reality that this path is often lonely, unexciting, and devoid of immediate fanfare. It's about playing the long game, prioritizing the profound satisfaction of future results over the fleeting pleasure of instant gratification. When you inevitably slip, and you will, for we are all human, don't wallow in guilt or throw in the towel. Instead, practice radical self-forgiveness. Acknowledge the slip, learn from it, and recommit immediately. This isn't about perfection, it's about persistent progress. Remember, the goal isn't to be flawless, but to be faithful in your commitment to growth. This journey is about cultivating a long-game mindset, understanding that the most rewarding harvests are always the result of consistent, patient, and often unseen cultivation. It's about building a spiritual muscle that allows you to endure, to grow, and to thrive, not just in times of plenty, but especially through seasons of scarcity and challenge. This is your invitation to step into a life of purpose, to reclaim your divine inheritance, and to build an unshakable foundation of faith and action. Are you ready to answer this call? We've journeyed through the profound truth that discipline, far from being a restrictive chore, is the very bedrock of a life designed by divine grace, a life of purpose, power, and unwavering faith. It's the invisible force that transforms intention into action, hope into becoming, and dreams into tangible realities. It's the quiet promise you make to yourself and to God, honored in the silence day after day, that builds true self-trust and inner strength. Remember, comfort doesn't create greatness. Consistency does. Your greatest breakthroughs will not come from waiting for inspiration, but from the unwavering commitment to show up, even when the excitement fades, even when things are hard, because you said you would. This is how you cultivate a life lived by design, not by chance. A life where you are not merely a passenger, but the deliberate co-creator with God, shaping your destiny with every intentional choice. Imagine the profound satisfaction, the deep sense of pride that comes from knowing you are living in full alignment with your highest calling, honoring the gifts and purposes God has placed within you. This isn't just about achieving goals. It's about becoming the person God created you to be, unshakable, unstoppable, and deeply rooted in His truth. If this message has ignited a spark within you, if it has spoken to a longing in your spirit, I invite you to take a moment right now. Pause, breathe, and consider what one small, consistent act of discipline you will commit to this week. Share your commitment in the comments below. Let's build a community of accountability and encouragement, lifting each other up on this sacred journey. Your story, your struggles, your triumphs are powerful testimonies waiting to inspire others. What topic would you like us to explore next that could further equip you on this path of purposeful living? Let your voice be heard, and together, let's continue to build lives that reflect the glory of God, one disciplined step at a time.